Don't forget to like and subscribe.
Hello there. Time to continue my reading of my book. I'm on to chapter 2, and I think I've learned my lesson. I'm going to just read through the chapter, probably break it up into several different parts, because honestly, sitting and reading aloud for long periods of time is just draining on me. I don't know why. Reading in my head would be much easier because it goes by quicker, and I think it's just taking me too long to get to those points, which is why I just time to break it up. Come back later, do another segment in a bit. So yeah, hopefully this one will not be as many parts because I believe it's a shorter chapter. Just called Meeting the Commander. Counting the pages this is normally not a good way to start. Counting the pages to figure out exactly how many. Okay, yeah, I could probably go through this one in one go. Maybe. I don't know. Probably not. We'll see how far I can go. So, Chapter 2. Meeting the Commander. Silence accompanied them as they made their way... Silence accompanied them as they made their way toward the center of the camp. To Lierre's surprise, there was less commotion going on in this area. It seemed as if the closer one came to the center of the camp, the more orderly everything became. At least, that is what she could gather from the fact that it was so dead silent. Barely even a few creatures could be heard, quietly tending to their duties. Lierre was not surprised that she had been summoned. She was actually surprised that she had not been marched over immediately upon arrival. However, she might have been if they had known who she was. Lierre continued forward as her thoughts went inward. Why can I not be just like all the other soldiers, she thought, as she dwelt on the fact that the other guards were having fun. The blue leader looked back at Lierre as Lierre followed her, eyeing her very curiously. I am sorry for how hard I was on you before, apologized the blue leader before adding, ma'am. Sorry, ma'am. Embarrassing how long it takes me to turn a page. Lierre let out a massive sigh. No. Stop. She stopped walking forward, and the blue leader also stopped, turning to look at her. I never wanted this. Yet all my life, it seems I have been treated completely different than others. She looked up at the sky. I was hoping to get lost and become one of the crowd, she added absently. The blue leader eyed her inquisitively. Raising an eyebrow, she opened her mouth, then seemed to think better of it. She turned forward again. Dang, sorry. Seeming to think better of it, she turned forward again. We should get going. I am late enough bringing you as it is. They continued on, passing more tents, until they reached a massive structure of art and nature. It was intertwined with many different kinds of tree branches. The leaves intermingled to create intricate designs of beautiful color, which displayed both strength and beauty to those who would set eyes upon it. The blue leader walked up towards the entrance of the tent and stood next to it while gesturing Lierre through. Lierre looked at the blue leader, nodded her head to her, then returned her salute in the manner she had seen used by others before walking through the door. Inside was a much more amazing spectacle. The outside was intricately beautiful, but the inside was so breathtaking. She could not find the words to describe such a place. The walls let no light through. However, this was not true for the ceiling. For thin leaves covering the canopy bled light of many colors onto the floor, casting the entire inside with a magical light which would change with the movement of the sun, the covering of the clouds, and the position of the stars and moons. Lier knew this exquisite style well. It was the way her mother loved to live, which Lier recognized immediately, having grown up in it for several hundred cycles. It was still a sight to behold. There were many rooms in this massive tent, but without being familiar with these types of structures, the rooms would go unnoticed. There were rooms on either side of the grand entrance, and one straight in the back. Lier composed herself, and then began to head towards the back. As she got closer, 2 guards presented themselves through the doors, saying in unison, "Violet Leader Sierre expected you when you were first arrived. Why did you not present yourself?" Lier, a bit taken back, took a moment to respond. I was not aware that I had been summoned." The 2 guards, both yellow leaders, looked at one another, then looked back at her. "That is irrelevant," said the guard on the left. "You should have known she would want to speak with you," the guard on the right finished. "Why is speaking with me so important? She never cared before," Lier said without thinking, then clenched her jaw to prevent her loose tongue from saying more. "Enter," said a commanding voice from within the tent. Slier's voice. My mother's voice, Lier thought apprehensively. Lier thought with apprehension. No, I'm adding things now. Lier, as was always her response, obeyed and walked in through the door, with her head bowed low, never meeting her mother's gaze. The 2 guards followed in step behind her, and stopped on either side of the door right after they passed under the arch. As Lier got closer, she began to slow down in order to prolong the berating she knew her mother would be delivering. As soon as she could see her mother's feet from her gaze upon the ground, she abruptly halted. "You summoned me, Lier winced. "Violet Leader Sierre," she finished. Remembering to bow deeply, even if family and alone, they still had to play the part. Slier's disgust for Lier's actions was evident in her voice. You show no respect for command or for our rules." "Well, how am I supposed to know how to show respect or know the rules when I was never given the knowledge for either?" She hit back in frustration. "I was given armor, which I was told to wear, reins to an Eldir, and told to march with the caravan, led by that blue leader, in order to make it to camp." Confusion seeped from her as she confessed her ignorance to what her mother was asking about. "You should have known what you needed to do. You are my daughter, after all," Slier said, as if in shock as to how her own daughter could not know more. "I thought you would have been watching me in my command. I may be your daughter. I may be the daughter you chose to keep, but keeping a child while you are in command." Lier let out an exhausted laugh. "Children are not allowed, as I recall you saying when I wish to learn over a century ago. Lier finally looked up, but never looked directly into her mother's eyes. More like past her, or through her. And I wasn't supposed to be trained for a few more decades. A long silence fell between them as the color of the canopy shifted over them. For the sun was falling, and night would soon arrive. The woods, creaking, became noticeable as the silence between them lengthened. A heavy autumn wind, which battered against the canopy, was only made louder by the long-standing silence. Slier breathed out, breaking the silence. The sounds of the wrestling of the canopy and the creaking of the woods disappeared with her sigh. Sorry, allergy season is bad. Always. My eyes are starting to bleed, I guess. You have disappointed me, Slier said flatly. Okay. Give me a minute. I need to compose myself. This is getting ridiculous. Let me actually make sure how far I've... You know what? I'm going to make this one short. My allergies are killing me. Please support me by buying my book. I honestly would have read this whole chapter in one go, but as you can see, my eyes are probably turning red. Maybe not, but my eyes are turning red. My nose is stuffed up. I actually need to go blow it. Probably need to take several medications just to subdue this. And I'll finish this one later. Yeah, please buy my book. Show some support. I'm technically wrote this all, and now I'm sharing it with everyone. But let's face it, people would probably enjoy to read it themselves than to hear me read it, because it might be entertaining to watch me read it, for sure. I wouldn't put that past them. Seeing my reactions to certain parts, especially since this is my first book that I've actually released. And yeah, I noticed little things, which is like, I wish I did this, I wish I did this, I wish I did this. But that'll be all for now. This one will be a short video. The next one will probably be just as short because it'll be the end of the chapter. And then I'll do a recap of the chapter, probably what my thoughts were on certain things, and probably several visuals I wish I could change. Because I already noticed a few. Well, not really. I actually like how I did it. But I could have done a bit more. I could always flesh it out more. Always flesh it out more. But I always wanted to do far less because I didn't want to put too much information on the plate. I've read books where there's too much information and it's just like, can't really follow along. Okay, I end this before I sneeze on camera. I've been holding it back for a minute. Thank you all for watching. Talk to you next time. Toodles.